Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault games. We have Matt on blue, red Delver versus Joe on a Yorion control list. See exactly what this is as it unfolds. A 4-color, just grindy control deck. Blue Red Delver, definitely a deck that you need to tune for. Playing something like Control. Very often when there's a format shake-up aggro is a good choice because you're the one asking the questions. Wow, both players mulling to 5. A control deck really does need a clear picture type of answers that are going to be needed. There starts things off a volcanic island and a ponder on the other side as well. Both players make some choices early on that may end up having big consequences. On a mull to 5. I really love about Legacy. We have a wasteland taking out Volcanic Island, I believe, during the upkeep. Turn. Phase Brainstorm, no land drop, so he is landlocked here. Brainstorm locked. The basic island in play, and it's another draw step before he gets a land. Ryome fetched out. Spicy for this slower build. Actually let a land come into play tapped, as it gets fetched out during an end step. Small tempo trade-off for a tremendous amount of fixing. Now Narset comes down. Yorion was added to hand. Narset finds a ponder. This is definitely getting out of hand. Delver shows up. About as much as you can hope for off of a single land on the other side. Facing down 4 mana, a known ponder and Yorion in hand. That digs. He's found 2 cards. Basically a build your own dig through time. Minskin Boo, the second one. That card is an absolute beating. 4 mana, Planeswalker. I mean, more or less, this gets you a 4/4 trample haste. With a Planeswalker, that also is good enough to win the game. I mean, it's got to be in the conversation for top 5 Planeswalkers. Let me know what you think about Minskin Boo, but I mean, that card, I think, gets out of hand extremely fast and does broken things. I mean, sacrificing a 7-power hamster is essentially just winning the game. I think more than they were planning when they printed that card. I mean, you're drawing 7 cards, but you're doing 7 extra damage, and that alone is very likely winning. Even drawing 4 extra cards off of it is bonkers. The hamster is coming back the next turn. I mean, it's really powerful. It is very, very powerful. Of course, the kind of card that encouraged people to play this at first was Dark Depths, making a 20/20 and having the ability to fling it at your opponent. Of course, people were playing cards like actual fling to go along with the 20/20, just in case your opponent has some type of potential removal or roadblock. I mean, a Flicker Wisp that can just block forever because of Mother of Runes, those type of situations. And it's good to be able to fling at your opponent's face. Minskin Boo isn't as good at that, but my goodness, all win condition all by itself as well. Also allow for that type of play where you just chucking a huge creature at your opponent's face just to end the game. I'm curious what your top 5 planeswalkers are. Ones that come to mind for me are Karn, Narset, Dak Vaden, Mini Teferi, Face the Mind Sculptor. That's still in the conversation at this point. 4 mana. See as much play as it used. Both of your 3 mana Lilianas used to be quite good. Out of favor as of late. Delver of Secrets leading out for game 2. Or how you draw it up. And a Dragon Rage Channeler. Oh, and a third Dragon Rage Channeler. So going very wide here. I believe most of the removal in this Yorion control deck is going to be 1 for 1. Not positive on the colors. I mean, for sure we have blue, white, green, and red. I'm not sure if there's black in there. There is Plague Engineer would be a pretty brutal card versus this board. Dramatic Ending did take out Delver of Secrets. Dragon Rage Channeler. Oh, that's actually a kind of a tough call. I don't know if I actually love that. I mean, just watching it here without having time to really think it through, when there's 2 Dragon Rage Channelers, very often the instinct is, if your opponent has 2 of one thing and 1 of another, to cut them off of the smaller resource. But those Dragon Rage Channelers are actually much better together. They will quickly become 3/3s. Thanks to all of the additional scrying that surveilling that they provide, I should say. Cards with every cantrip, it's not difficult to get to that delirium necessary. It also fuels the graveyard for Murktide. Days, oh yeah, there's a Murktide. Oh, and Murktide's put into the graveyard. Interesting. They mean he already has one in hand. Hydroblast and Murktide going to the bin. And it does in fact signal that he's got a Murktide. Big boy. Got lethal on board. Gonna need to be a Swords to Plowshares plus, just to have a chance. Uro. Alright, I mean, Uro into Swords. Gain the life. It does not draw the sword, so that's it for game 2. Murktide. It's an interesting decision. Let me know how you would have played that. Do you Swords or Prismatic Ending, I think it actually was, the Delver, or the extra Dragon Rage Channeler? Delver does do more damage card for card. Like if you have 1 Delver and 1 Dragon Rage Channeler, for sure Delvers do more damage. But when you have multiple Dragon Rage, they do fuel up pretty damn fast. And as we saw, fuel that Murktide as well. Harder to stabilize. Out Legacy. Oh, Carpet of Flowers. That is a sideboard card right there. Unapologetic. No playing around. Just turn 1. Carpet of Flowers. Not going to try and bait your opponent into playing extra islands. Versus Blue-Red Delver, they have to play islands. That is all they've got going on. Volcanics, Steam Vents even. Basic island. They can't really do anything with their wastelands in terms of committing permanence to the board. I have had matchups with Cephalid Breakfast where people have committed Carpet of Flowers and have been able to use Cavern of Souls and my basic planes to actually just never turn it on, along with Aether Vial. That is pretty filthy. Blue-Red Delver does not have that opportunity. Joe, happy to actually waste the only island, shutting off his own Carpet of Flowers. Happy enough of just the Delver on board. But it quickly gets paired with another island. This one actually going to be a basic, so won't be able to touch it with Wasteland. All right, a pair of Delvers. Engineered Explosives. This is bad news. Daze shows up kind of late. Carpet of Flowers and the Delvers go away. Oh, we'll see if they catch that. Oh no. Well, that is unfortunate right there. A Brazen Borrower used to send the Carpet of Flowers back to the hand. That actually did not need to happen. Brazen Borrower would not have been wasted on that effect. Wasteland was used to cut off the green to recast Carpet of Flowers. Field of the Dead on board. A very long way away from getting field active. Endurance actually used just to get rid of the graveyard preemptively, kind of feeling like there could be a Murktide on the way and losing some card advantage. Significant card advantage, basically using 2 cards. Rid of the graveyard. Delver of Secrets turning sideways. Sanctuary for value. Trying to cobble together a mana base. And that Carpet of Flowers comes back down. It's tough to see. And enables Life from the Loam. Yeah, Sylvan Library and Life from the Loam. Thanks to this Carpet of Flowers. This one out. It is just a tournament error, not something that you're actually allowed to miss. So there are interactions in Magic that it's both players' responsibility, which is pretty much everything. The exception to that would be your triggers. So your own triggers can actually miss. Doesn't mean you can ever carry them out incorrectly, but you can altogether miss them. You really need to work with your opponent to make sure all the effects resolve properly. In this instance, Carpet of Flowers, incredibly part of the game still that should have been blown up by that Engineered Explosives. Towards the Plowshares, gonna take out this Delver of Secrets. Yorion added to hand. And I think this Carpet of Flowers might actually be able to add additional insults to injury. There may be a play here with using Yorion to return Carpet of Flowers and then replay its second main to get 2 triggers out of the same Carpet of Flowers in the same turn. Triggers at the beginning of your main phase. If it hasn't triggered already, of course, the Carpet of Flowers, once it changes zones, is no longer the same carpet. So when you start the turn with in play, once it goes back to your hand, the game doesn't actually have a way of knowing which one's which, so the rules just say it's always a new item. Swords to Plowshares takes out Dragon Rage Channeler. There's a Daze. I am not actually clear on why Daze was used there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one in the comments. Sylvan Library. Hiding this card selection. The lands continue to pile on. Close to getting Field of the Dead active as well. Pyroblast takes out the Yorion. Still feels bad. I mean, it's an extra card in hand, essentially, starting with a companion. So you have to trade one of your cards in hand for a card that started outside of your opponent's deck like that. It's still in their favor. And if it didn't create value by entering the battlefield, which it often does. So I'm not actually sure in this deck that it does. We haven't really seen anything along those lines. Based off the mana base. Wouldn't expect Ice Fang. Not a ton of Snowlands. And the zombie horde starts to shamble. Uro, that trigger drawing a card, gaining 3 life, and making a zombie, making it even better. Just so far out of hand. Gotta wonder how much that Carpet of Flowers error was necessary in making all that happen. Feels pretty crucial. Uro. Now a win condition along with these zombies. Third land. Go has so much mana. Carpet of Flowers at this point. Kind of comical. A lot of reason to keep a fetch land instead. To deny the other side mana, for example. We have a big boy here. Murktide's coming in at full value. Could actually see a fetch land. Get a Mystic Sanctuary, make them a little bit bigger even. Another Murktide could potentially lead to a one-shot situation. Kind of trying to hold down the fort here. But it's a lot to ask against an opponent that has an active Sylvan Library. High enough life total that they can potentially just pay to get some extra cards in hand if they're good enough. We see a Pyroblast and perhaps a Blue Elemental Blast as well. I think it was a Red Elemental and a Blue Elemental in hand. School Foglio art. Minskin Boo eats a Pyroblast. Oh, Red Elemental Blast. Take out Murktide. So Joe content to let both major threats go to the graveyard. Happy with his board position. Taking out Murktide rather than forcing through his own Minskin Boo. Zombie tokens amassing at the gates here. That's it. Ponder is revealed. The hand is extended as 4-color control grinds out Delver. I don't know. Let me know how big of an impact that error seemed to be to you. That seemed very substantial in the outcome of the match, but well played by both players despite the error.